Hi, I'm Andy Reese. I'm one of the co-authors of the book Freedom Tools, and I'm here to answer some basic questions that you should ask about Freedom Tools, and certainly we've heard these questions many times. The question I want to address right now is, what does a Freedom Prayer session look like, or how is Freedom Prayer used? I think those things are important. First of all, we have within the book some foundations that really provide safe boundaries, safety for minister and the person being ministered to, safety for a church, safety within a church culture. For example, one of those foundations is that we operate in a culture of honor. And what we mean by that is that we treat people very gently, extraordinarily confidentially. We practice safe touch. We have skilled people in the room. We never go anywhere the person isn't comfortable going. And we don't go beyond the authority that we have under church leadership or the authority that we have just as individuals and as friends. We don't pretend to be counselors or psychiatrists or doctors. We're just friends who love the person, friends with the person, and are going with the person to the throne room to get answers from God. That's really who we are. And so there are foundations like that that really provide those kind of boundaries. Secondly, a Freedom Prayer session can look like anything from an informal conversation that two people are having. It can look like, I know with our children, it looked like a 10-minute, hey, buddy, I noticed something. Can we chat about that? Sort of a conversation. It can also look like within a church setting, teams of people who are trained, and there might be a session that's maybe an hour to a couple of hours, where you have a lead who's very skilled, and you have a number two who's learning and note-taking, and possibly a number three who's interceding and also learning, and you have a scheduled time and notes, and then some follow-up, hopefully within the church. It can look like sometimes church-wide weekends where you might get a couple hundred people in a room and you go through a certain part that might be a certain part of finding freedom that might be really common. Let's say how to forgive one another. And so there's training on that, and then we can break up into groups of 3 and 4, and there's certainly leadership there so that if someone suddenly hits something that's very emotional to them, that there can be the right level of comfort and counsel there as well. And so church-wide weekend, it can also look like a series of meetings where a group of friends, like a life group or something, they get together and they talk kind of week after week, and they work through even the book. We've done that in Sunday school classes. We've done that in life groups during the week or on weekends, that sort of a thing. And probably its highest and best is that it can become a culture within a church. And by that I mean that this idea that we are all being discipled into the ways and into the character of Christ, that is a primary function of church. And this gives tools and legs and form for that to happen, conversation by conversation, person by person, pastor to flock. And so it becomes a way that we do children's church, a way that we relate, a way that we counsel, a way that we preach. It kind of creeps into every part of our lives, and I think it should creep into part of our lives because Scripture says that the body is knitted together by ligament relationships, and that the life of the Spirit, the life of God, flows through those relationships. And part of that life is that we're able to speak words of exhortation and consolation and correction and wisdom and guidance, and we're able to help bring someone who's struggling into the presence of God and together hear what God has to say. So that church culture thing is really important. And lastly, this serves as sort of a doorway to other ministries when necessary. So let's say, for example, two people are having a conversation, and they realize that, gosh, I should see a doctor, or, you know what, I think a psychologist, or perhaps even, I think probably job counseling or financial counseling might be really helpful for you. So sometimes it just leads to some very practical, not Freedom Prayer related skill sets that are all necessary. And so this serves as a tremendous doorway. I know churches, and certainly Crossbridge Church, which you've probably seen, if you haven't seen C. Kirk's videos as part of this set, they certainly have a referral community where psychologists and counselors refer back and forth. and that's really important as well. So I think when we ask what does it look like, or the various forms it takes, I think that those are really important things.